If you're at the edge of giving up, emotionally, spiritually, or quietly in your heart, this message is for you. This video isn't loud or dramatic, it's honest. It speaks to the moment when strength feels gone, prayers feel unanswered, and continuing feels harder than quitting. This is a message for the person who's been holding on longer than anyone knows. For the one who hasn't said it out loud, but feels it deeply. Before you walk away, pause. What you're about to hear may be exactly what God wants you to know right now. Don't leave early. Stay until the end. This could be the reminder that keeps you going. This is not random. You didn't just stumble on this video while scrolling, killing time, or avoiding something else. You're here because something inside you is tired of carrying the weight alone. Not dramatic tired, not emotional chaos. The quiet kind of tired that comes when you've been strong for too long and nothing seems to change. If you've been thinking about giving up, even if you haven't said it out loud, stay with me. There is a moment that happens before people quit. It's not loud, it's not obvious, it's calm on the surface and heavy underneath. You still wake up, you still go to work, you still answer messages, but inside something has started to shut down. You're not fighting anymore, you're conserving energy. You're preparing for the possibility that this might never get better. And that's why this matters, because giving up rarely starts with a decision. It starts with distance. Distance between who you are and what you feel. Distance between what you believe and what you expect. Distance between the prayers you used to pray and the silence you've learned to live with. That distance grows quietly, and most people never notice it until they're already too far gone. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to hype you up. I'm here to be honest with you in a way most people aren't. When someone is close to giving up, what they need most is not motivation, it's clarity. It's someone naming what's actually happening inside them so they don't feel crazy for feeling this way. You may be telling yourself that you're just being realistic now, that you're tired of hoping and being disappointed, that lowering expectations feels safer than believing again. And maybe that makes sense. But before you decide anything, before you emotionally check out, I want you to slow down for just a moment. Not to fix anything, not to decide anything, just to stay present. Because the fact that you're still listening tells me something important. A part of you has not given up yet. A part of you is still looking for a reason to hold on, even if you're afraid to admit it. That part doesn't need pressure. It needs understanding, and it needs to hear something it hasn't heard before. If you're thinking about giving up, stay with me. What comes next is not about judgment or pushing you forward. It's about understanding the exact moment you're in right now and why this moment matters more than you realize. There is a very specific moment that comes before someone gives up, and it doesn't look the way people imagine. It's not panic, it's not tears, it's numbness. It's the moment when the thought appears quietly, almost reasonably. I can't do this anymore. Not said with drama, but with resignation. You don't collapse, you don't explode, you simply stop reaching, you still function, you still show up where you're expected to show up. You still do what needs to be done. On the outside, nothing looks wrong. But inside, something has shifted. You've stopped expecting relief. You've stopped picturing a better outcome. You've started preparing yourself to live with less hope because hope has begun to feel expensive. This is the moment people rarely talk about because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like maturity. It feels like acceptance. You tell yourself you're just being realistic now, that you're tired of getting your hopes up, that you're done being disappointed. But what's really happening is not acceptance, it's withdrawal. A slow, protective pulling back from anything that might hurt you again. In this moment, your emotions go quiet. Not because you've healed, but because you're conserving energy. You're tired of processing the same pain. You're tired of explaining it, even to yourself. So you stop asking questions. You stop praying the way you used to. You stop imagining different possibilities. You narrow your world down to what you can manage because managing feels safer than hoping. This is also the moment when guilt starts whispering. You wonder if feeling this way makes you ungrateful. You question whether a stronger person would handle this better. You compare yourself to who you used to be when faith felt lighter and trust felt natural. And you don't like the comparison, so you avoid it. You keep moving, but without direction. What makes this moment so dangerous is not that you feel bad, it's that you feel almost nothing. Pain at least keeps you engaged. Numbness disconnects you. It tells you to stop caring, stop expecting, stop risking disappointment. And because it feels calm, it can trick you into thinking it's peace. But peace restores. Numbness just protects. If this sounds familiar, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been strong for a long time without relief. It means you've carried something heavy without being able to put it down. And now your mind is trying to help you survive by shutting off what hurts the most. That response makes sense, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Because this exact moment, the one where everything goes quiet inside, is the moment most people never talk about. They talk about breakdowns. They talk about breakthroughs. But they don't talk about this in-between space, where you're not falling apart and you're not moving forward. You're just stopping. And before you let that stopping turn into a decision, before you tell yourself this is just who you are now, there's something important you need to understand about why giving up feels so reasonable right here. When you reach this point, giving up can feel logical, not emotional, not dramatic, logical. You've assessed the pattern, you've counted the effort, you've measured the cost, and the conclusion your mind offers is simple. Continuing hurts more than stopping. From a purely human perspective, that makes sense. This is where a lot of shame comes in, and it shouldn't. Wanting to quit doesn't mean you're weak or faithless. It often means you've been responsible, consistent, and realistic for a long time. You stayed longer than most people would. You tried options that didn't work. You gave chances where others would have walked away. Your desire to stop is not laziness, it's fatigue. When hope costs too much emotionally, the mind tries to protect you. It does this by lowering expectations, by shutting down desire, by convincing you that detachment is wisdom. This is not a moral failure, it's a survival strategy. Your system is trying to keep you from more disappointment, more loss, more unanswered questions. That's why quitting can feel like clarity instead of collapse. You're not reacting anymore. You're deciding. You're tired of living in tension. Tired of the constant pull between belief and reality. Tired of trusting something you can't predict. So you start telling yourself a new story, one where you don't expect much, don't risk much, and don't hurt as much. But here's where logic has limits. Logic is good at minimizing pain in the short term. It is not good at accounting for what happens to the heart over time. When you shut down hope to stay safe, you don't just stop hurting. You also stop feeling fully alive. You trade pain for numbness, and numbness slowly reshapes who you are. This is why wanting to give up does not mean you're done. It means you're at a crossroads where logic and truth are not the same thing. Something can feel reasonable and still not be right for you. Something can make sense and still cost you more than you realize. You don't need to judge yourself for being here. You don't need to force yourself forward either. But you do need to be honest about what this decision is really about. Is it peace you're after, or is it protection? Those two can look similar at first, but they lead to very different places. Just because giving up feels logical doesn't mean it's final. Logic responds to pain. But there is something deeper than logic at work in this moment. And if you don't look at it now, it will shape what you do next without you even realizing it. Before you decide to walk away, there's something important you need to see clearly. Not to scare you, not to pressure you, but to understand what giving up right now actually leaves unfinished. Walking away often feels like relief in advance. You imagine the weight lifting, the pressure easing, the constant tension finally stopping. And for a moment, that relief can feel real. But what rarely gets talked about is what stays with you when you quit too early. Not externally, but internally. When you walk away in this state, the situation doesn't resolve. It freezes. The questions you were carrying don't disappear. They follow you, unspoken, into whatever comes next. You stop engaging with the struggle, but the struggle doesn't stop shaping you. It simply moves underground, where it's harder to see and harder to heal. One of the first things that erodes is identity. You don't just stop believing in an outcome, you slowly stop trusting yourself. You begin to question your own resilience. You replay the moment you quit, telling yourself it was necessary, while a quieter voice wonders if you could have endured a little longer. That internal split stays with you. It shows up later as hesitation, second-guessing, and guardedness in places that used to feel natural. There is also the weight of unfinished pain, pain that was never processed, only avoided. It doesn't scream, it lingers. It influences how you attach, how you hope, how much of yourself you're willing to invest again. You may think you're protecting your future self, but unresolved pain has a way of narrowing your world without asking permission. This isn't about punishment or regret. It's about awareness. Stopping doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes it simply pauses the hurt and stores it for later. Relief without resolution is temporary, and when life presents another challenge, that stored weight often resurfaces, heavier than before. There's also a quiet spiritual cost that doesn't get named enough. When you give up in this moment, it's not just about stepping back from a situation. It's about stepping away from a version of yourself who was still hoping. And rebuilding trust with that part of yourself takes time. Sometimes more time than continuing would have taken. None of this means you must force yourself forward at any cost. It means this decision deserves clarity, not impulse. Giving up feels like an ending, but often it's just a pause with consequences. And those consequences are not loud or immediate. They are subtle. They show up slowly, shaping how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. Stopping doesn't always bring relief. Sometimes it just freezes the pain. And before you choose that kind of stillness, it's worth understanding what God often does in moments exactly like this. Not by pushing harder, not by demanding more, but by intervening in a way most people don't expect. This message is for the one who feels done. Not dramatic, not emotional, just done. The one who has reached the point where continuing feels heavier than stopping. I want you to hear this slowly, without pressure. You are not weak for feeling this way. You are responding to real weight, real disappointment, and real fatigue. Anyone in your position would feel this. This season does not define your entire story. It feels consuming right now because it's close, constant, and unresolved. But it is not the full picture of who you are or where your life is going. A chapter can be intense without being permanent. Pain has a way of convincing us that the present moment is the final verdict. It isn't. You don't need strength for the future right now. You don't need answers for next month, next year, or the rest of your life. All you need is enough strength for today, enough strength to stay, enough strength to not decide something irreversible from a temporary state of exhaustion. God is not asking you to solve your life. He is asking you to remain present. If you feel like your faith is smaller than it used to be, that doesn't disqualify you. Faith doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes faith is simply not walking away when every part of you wants to. Sometimes faith is letting yourself be carried instead of trying to carry everything yourself. You may feel like you've failed because you're not hopeful anymore. But hope is not a constant emotion. It's a capacity, and capacities get tired. God is not disappointed in you for needing rest. He is not measuring you by how optimistic you sound. He sees the endurance it has taken to get this far. This message is not telling you to push harder, it's telling you to pause, to stop judging yourself for being here, to stop assuming that this feeling means you're at the end. Feeling done is often a sign that something needs care, not abandonment. You are allowed to stay without knowing how this turns out. You are allowed to take this one day at a time without calling it failure. You are allowed to say, I can't do everything, but I can stay today. That is enough for now. If you're still listening, then you're still here, and that matters. Before anything changes around you, something is already shifting inside you, not toward pressure, but toward steadiness. And in this steadiness, there is room for one more thing, not a solution. A moment of grounding, a simple prayer for the edge of quitting. Take a slow breath before this, not to prepare, just to arrive. God, I am here and I am tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. I don't come with speeches or explanations. I come as I am, worn down, quiet, at the edge of giving up. Right now I ask for stillness, not answers, not solutions, just enough calm to stay present in this moment. Help my breathing slow. Help my thoughts stop racing ahead. Help my body release the tension it has been holding without rest. I admit that I don't have the strength to figure everything out. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how this will change. And I release the pressure to know. For today, I let go of tomorrow's weight. I only ask for what I need right now. Give me enough strength to not give up today. Not strength for the future, not strength for a lifetime, just enough strength to stay, to pause, to remain open instead of shutting down, to choose presence over escape. If my hope feels weak, hold it for me. If my faith feels small, meet me there. I don't need to feel confident. I just need to feel held. Remind me that I am not alone in this moment, even if I feel alone in my thoughts. Quiet the voice in my mind that says this is the end. Replace it with steadiness, not optimism, but grounding. Let me feel supported without needing proof. Let me rest without feeling guilty. Let me exist without forcing an outcome. God, I don't ask you to fix everything right now. I ask you to keep me from walking away from myself, from my life, from what still matters. Stay with me in this moment. Help me breathe. Help me stay. That is enough for today. You don't have to rush back into your day after this. Take a moment and notice where you are. If something inside you feels steadier, even slightly, that matters. This moment was not about fixing your life. It was about keeping you connected when you were close to disappearing inside yourself. If you're able, let yourself acknowledge where you are right now, not with explanations, not with spiritual language, just honesty. You can do that quietly, or you can do it with others. If it helps, write something simple in the comments that reflects where you are, not to perform, but to stay connected. Silence isolates. A small response keeps you present. Staying connected does not mean committing to anything big. It means choosing not to vanish when things feel unresolved. There will be days when the weight returns and this clarity feels distant. That does not erase what happened here. It just means you're human. When those days come, returning is allowed. You don't need to decide everything today. You don't need a plan for the rest of your life. You don't need to prove strength or faith to anyone. The only thing that matters right now is that you didn't give up in this moment, that you stayed long enough to breathe, to listen, to steady yourself. If you want to continue having spaces like this where you can pause and be honest without pressure, stay close. Not because you have to, but because it helps to know you're not alone when the weight comes back. Connection is not about obligation, it's about continuity. As you move forward, remember this. Feeling like giving up does not mean you are finished. It means you reached a place that required care, and you gave yourself that care today. That matters more than you know. You don't have to decide everything today. Just don't give up yet.